Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream.tv. This is the Unofficial Survivor After Show, and usually I would say joining me is my co-host, Jerri Manthey, but if you look, my co-host tonight is a plant. Unfortunately, Jerri is still busy up in San Francisco with her jewelry business, jewelrybyjerri.com, but instead of the plant, I do have a co-host tonight, and it is Reality Blurred. Is a blog that you all should read. Andy Dehnart, who runs Reality Blurred, is going to co-host tonight with me. So Andy, thank you so much for stepping in as my co-host tonight. I'm so excited to get to talk Survivor with you for 20 minutes. I'm excited. How are you?
Yeah, great, Justin. How are you? Thanks for having me, and I will make it through this with you as long as you give me good directions and shout loudly at me.
No, all I need is your opinions and your thoughts on tonight's episode, which is easy because I know you're full of opinions. I read them all the time on Reality Blurred, and I'm super bummed though that Jerri's not here because it would have been so amazing to hear her perspective on Jeff Varner tonight, and we'll definitely have to get it next week when she's back, right?
For sure. Definitely a surprise and sad ending for Jeff.
Let's get right to it. I am honestly shocked. I'm super sad and bummed that Jeff got voted off tonight. And I honestly didn't really see it coming. I mean, did you expect Jeff to go so soon?
I guess it's not a huge surprise because everyone definitely saw him as a threat and he was sort of being vocal and putting it all out there. So it's not a gigantic surprise. I would say it's more of a disappointment for me because I loved the game he was playing and I liked his character. And I also just liked seeing him on TV again.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I don't want Abby to take credit for this, but of course she's going to.
Yeah, the wrath of Abby Maria, and how long are we going to see Abby Maria in this game? I mean, she's playing it, and she's still in there. But I too, I'm just super sad. I love seeing Jeff back. He was playing a really hard game, and I think they were truly trying to get all of his moments in and make him the star as long as they could on this season so far.
Yeah, and I think, he goes out relatively early, but he goes out with, I think, a really great edit, and also just like, you can feel good about the game he played. I think there was probably a couple missteps, mostly the challenge last week, but I think he should go out with this head held high, and I honestly would not be surprised to see him back soon in a season or three.
I was going to say, I think Jeff will get Survivor third chance. I think that he will be back. We'll see him again in a fans versus favorites or some different season where we're definitely going to see him back. So let's talk about, the start of the episode. Last week, we saw Abby Maria flip and PG went home. And, right after, it's basically Abby, the wrath of Abby. Woo was pulled aside by Tasha, and we saw this when Abby catches people talking about her, and she bluntly approaches them. She approached Tasha and said, "I don't like that you're talking to Woo, behind my back." What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, that thread of that continued throughout the whole episode, which was this, like, even though Tasha was like, look, Varner's the bigger threat, like Abby just has her single emotion set on Woo, and she just wants to get him out at all costs because she feels betrayed and hurt by him. So it was interesting, like, not to jump all the way to the end of the episode, but I feel like the whole tribe had to do some management to get Abby into that position to, like, feel like she was having a choice in voting out Varner instead of just feeling like they were betraying her by not voting out Woo.
I almost feel, though, that at the end, it was more of damage control with Abby Maria because if you think about it, if Tasha and Savage really wanted to get rid of Varner, all they had to do was get Woo's vote. 3 is a majority on a tribe of 5. So Woo and Jeff, we saw them walking on the beach. They both thought one of them is going to go home. They both were going to vote for each other. So basically all you needed was one of their votes to get the other one gone, and you didn't even need Abby Maria's vote. So in my opinion, it really seemed more that Tasha and Savage were trying to do damage control of making Abby feel like Woo is with them, and if they really want Woo, make him really try and instill in Abby that I will trust you, I will be with you. And they really just needed Woo's vote tonight, and they easily could have gotten it. Tasha has a previous relationship with Woo from her first season with him, and they knew they had to go one of them versus the other, right?
Absolutely. I think you're exactly right on how all that played out. And it was interesting because, like, a lot of episodes this season haven't really shown us much of the what's gone into the vote. Whereas I feel like this episode, we got a really clear picture, and it didn't seem like the editing was playing tricks with us or compressing stuff or anything. It just seemed like a really clear, straightforward decision.
And I think it's easier to do that when there's only 5 people left on a tribe. Usually at this early in the game, episode 4, we're not necessarily looking at a tribe that's already, a 3 vote is a majority. And if we talk about it again, what is crazy is you have Tasha and Savage. They were on the minority on the tribe, and they still are running the show in control. And do you think there would have been any chance, any opportunity for Wu and Varner to say to each other, why don't we try one more time to see if we can get Abby Maria to vote one of the others out?
I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe tried or at least talked about it. But, I mean, I feel like that's sort of like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good metaphor here, but it's like she is just such a mess, and to contain her, it's like she's like an oil spill, and you have to like figure out like how do you get this back together where I can control it or use it or convince her of something, and she's just kind of like all over the place. So that might have been a terrible metaphor.
We've had 4 episodes of the season. I'm loving this season. I know you are too. And it almost seems like back to Survivor Palau, where the same tribe loses every single time and is going to tribal council every single time. So we've really only gotten to see, certain key players of the Angkor tribe and, play the game and where the alliances fall. And basically Abby Maria, she wasn't in control of the vote tonight. Even though she thought she was in control of the vote tonight, they had the votes without her. They could have voted out Varner without her. But she is having such a huge impact on this game in the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, she really, and it's interesting that her narrative has been so front and center, which I suspect means that she's going to go home soon. But I also can see that she's the kind of person that will linger to the very end and be used as a pawn in the final 2 or 3.
Try and get up against her so you win the vote, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, let's talk about the reward challenge tonight. They did something where I don't know if I was a huge fan of. I'm going to be interested to see what you think. They had a reward challenge where each tribe had to select one tribe member, and they called it a hero challenge, the hero reward, where each tribe picked one player. We had Terry Dietz for Takeo, we had Jeremy for Bion, and we had Andrew Savage for Angkor. And they had to run in the water, get pieces 3 times, and then use their feet to get them up in the air on some net. But what'd you make of them only picking one person from each tribe? Were you a fan of it? Why do you think they did it? And I would have preferred seeing the entire tribe do a challenge.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I love reward challenges. I hate when they combine them. So I was like, yay, reward challenge. And then now it's this kind of, BS hero thing. And which I rolled my eyes really heavily at Probst when he said that, because it really seemed to me as a way to set up like the person who failed their tribe to be like a loser who everyone targeted. Yeah. That's kind of how I was reading it. They were trying to be like, you had a chance and you failed your tribe. But the end result was actually a really spectacular challenge with the come from behind and these sort of like virtually slow motion tosses of these bags through the air, and to see the down and out tribe actually win the reward and be so thrilled was a great conclusion to it. So yeah, I wouldn't have made that choice myself, and it wasn't the best, but I thought the result was fantastic.
I almost wonder if they did it and if they changed it up because they wanted that story where they knew if we allow them to pick one person, they're definitely going to pick Andrew Savage. That'll give them a better opportunity to win the challenge going head-to-head one-on-one compared to if we throw them all in as a tribe. Most likely Angkor, they got the short end of the swap. They'll probably just lose if they go against all the other tribes anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, Probst is looking constantly for second chance opportunities here to tell any kind of second chance story. So I think that's what they were going for, but they didn't get it because the challenge played it. Or, I mean, I guess they got it in that he felt redeemed, but it didn't feel like there was any, didn't feel like a heavy-handed narrative, which I think this season has gotten a little bit to that point for me sometimes so far. So I'm glad that it was just like really clean challenge, really great win, and
Yeah.
solid play on all three of their parts.
Well, and it was interesting because I thought, why didn't I almost I almost said Malcolm, and all the Joe fans are gonna probably, go crazy that I would have said that. But I'm interested because I almost said Malcolm again. We always said Joe is like Malcolm 2.0, but they didn't pick Joe. Wu didn't do it, and I was just surprised by some of the picks. And I guess it was more like the old school and Jeremy redemption challenge. I don't know. So it was fine, and I did love, like you said, Anchor, the team that's been down and out, winning the food, celebrating. I love the moment of them being back at Tribe, eating that food, celebrating with cheers and team camaraderie, and really like, we're going to go into this immunity challenge and kick some butt, which did not happen, right?
No.
Let's talk about, the immunity challenge. In the immunity challenge, they had to go blindfold to the classic blindfold challenge, and someone's calling out. I was excited that they picked Kimmy on Bion to be their caller because we finally got to hear Kimmy say something in 4 episodes, and it was a brutal challenge with all those pieces being so heavy and falling on so many people.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like you said, classic challenge. Test the tribe's teamwork in terms of them being able to work together on the ground, but also communicate and listen. And it always pays off. And they had kind of a little montage of the pain that's like kind of funny, but also like horrifying and seems ridiculously, obviously painful that they're dropping these massive puzzle pieces on themselves. And this one played out interestingly too. Not only from like the selection of Cass as a caller and sort of giving her the opportunity to really help out her tribe, but also the way that the losing tribe just basically gave up, and Probst was like just calling them out on that they were just sitting there sort of waiting for the challenge to end, and it looked like they had barely done anything except like set their puzzle pieces upright.
It was crazy to see how the Angkor tribe just, like you said, gave up. And I mean, Cambodia, I've been to Cambodia. It is hot. It is so draining. I've gone to Angkor Wat, which you see all those beauty shots, and I actually have a travel blog where I wrote about it. And it is crazy how hot and draining it is just being in that weather. And it clearly, with no food, low morale, they just gave up. And it was so sad and demoralizing to watch that. And it was just kind of a bummer, like you watching, you're just kind of like, pull it, get it, do it. And then Jeff Varner dropping the piece on his toe and his pinky toe, hurting him physically. I mean, it was a mess, such a mess.
Yeah, absolutely. But but I would say a beautiful mess, especially that location with the sort of like little kind of inlet, stream going right through the middle of the challenge and on the water like that. So they just have some gorgeous locations. And after Nicaragua, which I find to be really ugly as a Survivor location, I was so glad to just like even the visuals of this was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm definitely loving Cambodia as a location. And it's been really fun to watch just the location and the shots that they're showing with the animals and all the temples and everything. So one thing, the first 4 episodes have focused a ton on the Angkor tribe and Jeff Varner. Everyone PG, people are getting voted off, Abby Maria, Wu. Let's talk a little bit about players that we have seen less of, but we have seen specifically in this episode. Let's talk about first Bion. Bion, we get to see Jeremy celebrating his idol win. He's also with Steven saying, we're still looking for idols. Even though I have it, I will be his JT this game. Earlier in previous episodes, we saw Steven saying, I just need to find my JT, strong guy that is surviving out here that I can latch onto. What do you make of the Jeremy Steven storyline in this season?
I mean, it's interesting because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've actually seen them identify each other, as in the other person has agreed to this or them talk about it. So it feels like they're talking about it as a possibility, but we haven't actually seen it come to fruition yet. So yeah, I don't know why they're kind of spending so long setting this up unless it's going to actually go somewhere, or maybe it's going to be the opposite where one of them stabs the other in the back.
I feel
it's
like
an interesting dynamic for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be one of those, and my gut is saying it's going to be the opposite. I think that I could see Jeremy, putting the knife in Steven's back sooner than later. I also am predicting that next week that we're going to go from 3 tribes to 2 tribes. That is my own prediction. It's not a spoiler. It's not anybody spoiling anything. I really think they're going to go back to 2 tribes next week, and I hope we get to see more shuffle and get to see some of these players who haven't had the chance to play start playing the game and making alliances. And, on Bayan. What I also loved seeing was I was shocked, and I think a lot of people on Twitter, I was dying laughing, people saying, oh, Monica's on this season. We got to see Monica actually talking to Spencer when Spencer was basically throwing Kelly Wigglesworth under the bus, thinking that if they had to go to tribal soon, that it's him or Kelly Wigglesworth going home.
Yeah, I feel like she's in trouble, and we haven't seen much of her at all except in that context, or to hear people talking about her. So I'm kind of worried for her game, and it's, again, like you said, we're not seeing much of the other tribes, so we don't really know what's going on. But I think it'd be interesting if there's a merge next week. I would also be interested to see if they merge down to one tribe, go from 3 to 1. Maybe just do the fake merge that they did, which I loved, where they put them all together and just see what happens, but keep them as separate tribes.
In Survivor Thailand, good reference right there.
Yeah, so and I have no idea either, and I'm just playing pretend.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're seeing little bits of development on both of those other tribes, which hopefully they have to play out eventually, because otherwise, why would they be showing it? My favorite development of the episode, I have a soft spot for Cass. I have a soft spot for Chaos Cass. And even though she hasn't had to go to tribal council once and cause some chaos, we're getting to see a lot of Cass comparatively to the other people on her tribe. And she talked about this season is really going to be about a player who uses the second chance to evolve. And she talked about reading a book, about basically relating to people, self-help books. And I really saw this as a moment of, I think Cass is going to go super far, and I think we're seeing these moments of Cass because it's playing into the whole storyline of Cass truly playing a different game, turning her game around, knowing that she was probably public enemy number 1, which she was, and really changing her game by being personable and relating to people. Or I'm hoping. So what do you think of Cass's story in the season so far?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page about it. My favorite moment in the entire episode was her sort of talking about winning friends and then sort of doing what I think it was really brilliant editing, because I was convinced she was making a fake immunity idol too.
Yes.
Everyone's asleep, she's cutting beads, she's doing this stuff, and then Kelly walks over and she's like, get away from me, which is oh, Cass, you're talking, you're trying to win friends, and you're just doing this all wrong. And then she presents it to her as it's a birthday present. And it's just the greatest reversal of a sort of relatively inconsequential thing that I think Survivor has ever had. Because they totally fooled me for sure.
I loved it. And I love that Kelly Wentworth was all, Cass is making a fake idol. And then I literally laughed out loud when Cass gave it to her, and that moment kind of blew up a little bit. And I love that Cass was genuine about it. I really do feel what we're getting from Cass, it is a genuine connection, where I feel like sometimes when Spencer talks about emotions and having to make emotional connections, it's a little forced,
Yeah, and I've always liked Cass, and I think she kind of gets a bad rap on some level for being disconnected, and her game wasn't perfect last time, obviously, and she did some things wrong as she identified. But I also don't think that she was somebody totally antisocial, someone I don't really want to mention him, but that Hans guy, who thought he was so great at the social game, but just wasn't. I think he gets more credit for the social game than he deserves. Whereas I think Cass is somebody whose game is a lot better than she gets credit for. And again, it didn't work out for her last time, and I'm really excited to see where it goes this time.
Totally, me too. Well, for a quick second, we are going to hear from the Stream.tv.
In case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live.
In case you missed it live, this is for you.
I love it. That was freaking loud.
Oh my God.
I didn't see any of this coming. Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah?
I was like,
Woo! Woo!
How did you get here? No.
Kill him. Kill him. Definitely kill him. We're cool.
shade. The shade left and right, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies, let's put your 2 cents in.
Rubbed me the wrong way in the right way.
But you were like, well, we want to know what's going to happen.
That was cute.
We just want to say we love you all. Thank you so much for your support. You are all seriously the best in the world. and we
Another
appreciate
beautiful
you so
summer
much.
at the stream.tv, y'all.
Here we go, guys.
Thank you for being here. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
TV. This is the unofficial Survivor After Show. I'm your host, Justin Walter, and still joining me is Andy from Reality Blurred. So, Andy, let's talk a little bit about something we didn't really talk about yet at Tribal Council. I loved seeing Jeff Varner and Woo fighting to stay in the game. Jeff, I thought he could be a lawyer by how he was giving great arguments to Abby Maria. I've never written your name down. I've been loyal to you. I want to play this game with you to the end, and trying to get her to stay loyal. But it, in my opinion, didn't really matter because the votes were going his way after we saw it. And Woo,
Right.
I give Woo credit finally for kind of, stepping up and having a good fight and showing that fight that I always kind of criticize him for not having. So what'd you think of the battle at Tribal Council between the two of them?
Yeah, I mean, they were both really articulate, and I was surprised because Woo often seems to be surprised at Tribal Council that, Tribal Council is even happening. So I was impressed that he was really on point with what he needed to argue to try to save himself. Like you said, it seemed to be a foregone conclusion, and he probably was sort of either acting out of desperation or just show at that point. But they did both make good arguments, and the cool thing about this episode, again, was that the Tribal Council wasn't out of totally thin air. It felt really like we got to see everything leading up to that, and then their arguments just kind of like bolstered what we already knew to be true.
Yeah, I think when I go home, I'm going to have to pinch myself because I really don't believe and want to believe that Jeff Varner went home. I'm so sad. He was such a good character and player in the game. And I think that there's something to be said. I think a lot of the players on the other two tribes, and this is me like speaking philosophically about Survivor strategy, they haven't been forced to make moves and make alliances that will be tested. So I really feel like next week, my prediction, two tribes, or even if someone else goes to Tribal Council, it's going to be interesting, and I feel like it's going to be a whole new game and a whole new season that we're going to see almost from scratch a little bit, that we have to see these alliances get tested because they haven't been tested, and when push comes to shove, we don't really know who's actually going to work with who.
Yeah, and if we don't see a merge next week, it could be interesting if there's a total pagonging here of like this tribe either gets absorbed eventually or like they just eliminate themselves and they're gone.
Yeah. So real quick, what was your moment of the week? Was it Cass with the necklace and the birthday gift?
100%. Like I'm going to go rewatch that over and over again along with the video or the clips of that little cute baby monkey because
my God.
that thing is amazing too.
I love it. And one thing I have to say is, why is Sierra sitting out of every challenge that she has the opportunity to sit out in? Is she still sick? On Twitter, she was saying that she felt really sick out there. I hope that's not the case. I hope Sierra, steps it up and starts competing a little more. And we haven't seen anything really of her either.
No, like you said, there's been a lot of people who are just like faded into the background, and hopefully they will emerge soon because they're like Sierra, people I really like and want to see more of.
Yeah. Well, Andy, thank you so much for stepping in for Jerri tonight. We'll definitely check out Reality Blurred and your recap next week. So thank you for joining us and love hearing your opinions.
Thanks so much, Justin. I appreciate it. Have a great week.
Yeah, thank you. Well, in addition to Reality Blurred, we have a bunch of other sites that are posting our show weekly, so we want to definitely give them a shout out, and you should check out their Survivor recaps and articles. We have got allaboutthetea.com, we have mortystv.com, and tvfanforums.net. We also have Survivor Digest, Survivor Fandom. All of these sites, like Reality Blurred, are throwing up our show, and we cannot thank you guys enough. So next week, Jerri will come back from her 2-week hiatus. I will make sure of it. And thank you guys so much for joining. Subscribe to the stream.tv. Give us your comments on YouTube. I love interacting with the fans and can't wait for another great episode of Survivor next week. So see you guys in one more week. My countdown has begun.